One woman plans the ultimate surprise for her boyfriend.
I was very excited to surprise him. I thought I was going to be the best girlfriend in the world.
Are you surprised?
Very much so.
But the tables are turned as she's the one in for a shock.
It did cross my mind that this could be a little much, but I thought either go big or go home.
Mayday, mayday, engine out.
Meet Kwame and Diane Thomas from Atlanta in the US.
I met Kwame when he came to the bank that I worked at. He was very captivating and very charismatic, and I was definitely smitten.
It was very much like love at first sight.
Diane and Kwame had 3 children each, and after a year together, they expanded their family with twins. With Kwame wanting to make Diane officially his wife, he began to think of ways he could pop the big question.
I knew I wanted to do something unique.
Let me call these guys.
I love flying, airplanes and helicopters and that kind of stuff. And so it just felt like a natural fit.
Kwame sought the services of a professional video company, and together they planned an epic proposal.
I think we've come up with something that you're gonna love.
I knew I wanted to do something that was over the top. So the idea was, how can we still be romantic, but yet still be sort of cutting edge?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Plan in place, Kwame's first job was to come up with a believable story.
Kwame gave the idea for us to go on a little staycation to Atlanta.
We needed her to be a willing participant, but without knowing. And so the easiest way to do that was to make her think it was her idea. And so we came up with the idea of a free giveaway in exchange for a review.
I received a call from a gentleman who said that he owned a helicopter company and was working with the hotel that we were staying at, and they were offering this special promotion that in trade for a review on their website, they would give a free helicopter tour of the city. So I definitely signed up right away. I was very excited to surprise Kwame, so I thought I was going to be the best girlfriend in the world.
She took a hook, line, and sinker. Little did she know that she was being recorded all throughout.
Surprise day dawned, and the couple arrived at their hotel for their romantic getaway. Oh God, I'm so nervous.
So on the day of the proposal, I was certainly feeling nervous. It took a lot of planning to get us up to that point. So then it was just making sure we could execute.
But while Kwame's mind was on the proposal, Diane was also trying to keep her surprise under wraps.
The helicopter company owner said he would come to our room and pretend that he was from the hotel and that they were offering us a free upgrade to the penthouse. And of course, the penthouse is up at the top of the building.
As we walk out the door, I had to act surprised.
Awesome. How you doing?
I'm well, and you?
Very good, very good.
And I'm bad at acting, so, I did my fake surprise, but, it worked. It was enough to fool her.
Are you surprised?
Very much so.
She did good, didn't she?
That she did.
Good job.
Obviously, he was acting, but he did a great job because I was so pleased with myself that it went off so well.
Later, as the couple take to the skies, there's thrilling sights
All right, I'd like you all to remain calm.
and an unbelievable fright.
The helicopter was wobbling and shaking, and I was certain that I was about to die.
Mayday, mayday.
Next, a wedding that brings true meaning to the vows in sickness
Lovely as always.
and in health.
I just thought, oh, this can't be happening right now.
This is Tiffany and Chris Nelson from Idaho in the US.
Chris and I met on a blind date. I thought it was gonna be one of two things. I'm definitely gonna marry this man or he's gonna break my heart. I just wasn't sure which.
My first impressions of Tiffany, she was incredibly beautiful, and she was a diehard Seahawks fan to boot, so it was love at first sight.
After a year and a half of dating, they got engaged and decided on a beach wedding in Mexico. But when the big day arrived, no one could have predicted what was to come.
The morning was absolutely beautiful. Sunrise was gorgeous. I felt great. I was looking forward to the day's event. It wasn't till I got in the shower that the world just went lopsided.
Lovely as always.
It came on very quickly. I got super dizzy and very nauseous, and the next thing I know, I was throwing up repeatedly. I just thought, oh, this can't be happening right now.
Tiffany didn't say much except I don't feel well, and then she disappeared in the bathroom and threw up again.
But Tiffany wasn't going to let anything ruin her wedding day, so bravely soldiered on.
When we arrived at the venue, we walked down the hill and got to the venue. We went over and checked everything out, and Tiffany said, hold on one moment, and she walked behind a rock and she threw up again.
So that day was probably around 90 to 95 degrees that day, so it was very warm and very humid. It wasn't helping my sickness whatsoever. So my son was the one that walked me down the aisle, and he, kissed me on my head and said, I love you, Mom, and walked me down the aisle. And then presented me to Chris.
As she walked down the aisle, she looked incredible, as always. And at that point, I thought everything should be all right because she was looking very, very good at that point.
We read a couple of scriptures, and during that time, I noticed that behind Chris, his daughter Ashley was starting to wobble a little bit, and that's when she fainted. And luckily, our photographer saw it as well and went and caught her. And I think the heat was getting to her, but quite honestly, it could have been the flu starting to hit her as well.
And then we went to the sand ceremony, which was a symbol of our families combining together. It was the blending of the sands is a blending of our families together. And it was at that point where Tiffany poured her sand, and as soon as she got done, she held up her finger and said, hold on a second. She turned around, and that was the moment of fame for her.
I held it off as long as I possibly could. I was really trying to get through the ceremony. And so by the time I was able to say, excuse me, there was no holding back.
First thought that went through my mind was, uh-oh, here we go again. So I just waited there and held the jar of sand.
I was so thankful that there was no diarrhea involved because I was wearing a mermaid dress and then the show might have stopped.
After the sand ceremony, we returned to the altar, and we proceeded with the exchanging of the rings, and we said our vows.
This is where we added sickness and health.
Here we were pronounced husband and wife.
And shockingly, when they said you can kiss the bride, he actually did.
Remarkably, despite the bridesmaid and bride succumbing to a nasty sickness bug, they got to the end of the ceremony. And it may not have been the wedding they imagined, but it was definitely memorable. I mean, the smell must have been quite something.
We got married on April Fool's Day, and the joke might be on us.
We'll watch the video of the wedding from time to time, and we get a good snicker out of it every time we do.
If there's one thing a bride needs on her big day, it's a trusty bridesmaid. And Tiffany's got your back.
Oh my God!
Brides hire her to avoid any nuptial nightmares.
One of the bridesmaids got nail varnish on her dress.
But there's a twist.
I can't have the other bridesmaids knowing that I'm undercover.
The story is, she's a long-lost friend.
I have apparently known the bride since we were on gap year together.
But the truth is, they barely know each other.
This is actually all complete rubbish. I met the bride 6 weeks ago.
She's the undercover bridesmaid.
I've just got to pull it off.
first dance is often really overlooked. It's one of those things that can go horribly wrong if you don't prepare for it. The last thing you want is to go to a wedding and see a bride and groom plodding along, not knowing the moves, looking really awkward.
Tiffany's brought Kirsten, a bride she's been working with, to a studio in London for a dance lesson.
So I need to take my shoes off so that, I don't destroy your feet.
Oh, don't worry. My feet are numb enough.
Where teacher Byron will put her through her paces.
We'll start with this basic box step.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing complicated. It's just literally forward, back, forward. Your left arm, I would like your left arm to go up, your hand just below my shoulder, okay?
I said to Tiffany that I didn't want to just be, standing on the dance floor swaying from side to side. Like teenagers at a disco. It's a big day and it'd be nice even to just look back on it in years to come. That's when she suggested the dance classes.
We're going to start by going back on your right foot, okay? We're just going to step back on the right foot for 1, step to the side on the left foot for 2, and we're going to close right foot to left foot for 3.
First dance is so important on the wedding day. It's kind of that moment that everyone is looking forward to. They want to see if you've done something, kind of rehearsed, spectacular, or, whether you're just going to kind of wing it.
And 1, very good.
So, very important to get it right.
3, and whoop. You're at the right foot for me, please.
The right foot.
Okay.
I think the worst thing that you can do for your first dance is not to practice.
Let's try it again, together.
There's nothing worse than turning up at a wedding and you see a couple that kind of stumble along and they're treading on each other's toes, and then he starts kind of pulling out the John Travolta moves and she's wanting to do a waltz. It's awful.
2, 3, nice and gentle rise and fall. Up and 1. Very good.
How's it going, Kirsten?
Ooh, it's complicated.
It's looking good.
With the basics mastered, it's time for some fancy footwork. Oh, Christ.
Moving on, I want to show you one little, slightly more advanced step.
Okay.
Okay, so we are going to start in hold. As we continue forward, I'm going to bring my left arm in, and we will go 4, 5, 6.
Okay.
Okay.
There is so much going on. You've got to think about your feet, your arms, everything just suddenly becomes really, really complicated.
5, 6. Stepping on your left foot, lowering on the left foot.
Making sure your feet are in the right position, you're not treading on each other's toes, you're holding your arms correctly. There is so much to it.
Step forward, close the feet, 3. And now we should be on your left foot. Are we on the left foot? No, we're on the right foot. There's the left foot.
It's interesting. It really does make you question, your left and your right. And when someone says to you, now you're left and now you're right, and now we're going backwards, and you're like, you're backwards, my backwards? Like you're forwards, my forwards? Your left, my left? Oh my God. I'm trying not to overthink it though, because I know if I overthink it, I'll just lose it.
I think Kirsten's doing really well. It's quite a tricky routine to kind of pick up on, but she seems to be managing it. So we'll just have to see. I think she's just got to get the ending. That's the tricky bit.
Didn't realise that was how a waltz worked, I suppose. I guess I thought that people just did going around in circles like this. So it was a lot more to it.
But the hard work has paid off, and now all she has to do is go home and teach it to the groom. Good luck with that.
I feel confident that I can teach Killian how to do it, but I think it's going to take a few looseners down the pub first. I can't believe in such a short space of time that I went from not being able to do the box step to actually incorporating other moves. So I feel a lot more confident now, and I just have to now become the teacher. Yeah.
Yay! That was gorgeous!
For the bride and groom, the first dance can be terrifying. With the wedding guests watching your every move, it's easy to feel naked and exposed. Something this ballsy bride in Australia doesn't have a problem with. She launches into a raunchy routine that's rarely seen at weddings. But not to be outdone, the groom decides to get in on the action. And as the competition heats up, the bride levels the playing field. Oh, sorry, I feel a bit sick. Before the couple round off the routine together in style. Seriously, I don't feel well. It seems no one wears trousers in this relationship. Honestly, I feel sick. In Idaho, the US, this gutsy groom and his band of groomsmen are about to put on a dance for his dino-loving bride that will go down in prehistory. Oh dear. Scientists have often wondered, can a T-Rex twerk? They haven't, have they? And this crowd-pleasing performance proves they definitely can. Totally rawsome. In Texas, here comes the bride. Not dressed in white, but hot pants and high heels. Her raucous reception entrance, in which she twerks, flips and splits, has become an internet sensation. And it's easy to see why. Oh, my back's gone, just looking at her. Earlier, we saw Kwame and Diane take off for a romantic helicopter ride. But while she was reveling in her big surprise for him,
I thought I was the best girlfriend in the world.
he was about to pull off the mother of all pranks. Honestly, this guy.
As we're turning around and coming back, the pilot spoke into the mic, and to me, that was a cue for me to let me know that, okay, now the game starts.
Okay. All right, I'd like you all to remain calm.
An alarm went off in the cockpit.
We have a problem with the engine. We're going to go ahead and make a precautionary landing here.
The pilot started radioing, saying, emergency situation, we have an engine out, we are looking for an emergency landing site, mayday, mayday.
Declaring a mayday, short final, emergency landing, engine out, rooftop of the W Hotel.
I got a little nervous myself, you know. I almost believed the ruse that I was putting on.
All traffic, please clear the area. 1 Victor Bravo.
And of course, Diane is just stiff as a board, looking straight ahead. She's not talking. You know, she's just in fear. Fear all over her face.
Mayday, mayday. 1 Victor Bravo, engine out.
The helicopter was wobbling and shaking, and we were tossing and turning, and I was certain that I was about to die. I was certain. I thought, my sister is going to raise my children. I am going to die.
It did cross my mind that this could be a little much, but, you know, I thought either go big or go home.
Kwame was making jokes and being silly, and that was a little frustrating for me because I was very afraid at that point.
I thought it was amusing because I knew what was going on and she didn't.
Traffic in the area, please clear. 1 Victor Bravo.
We were approaching our hotel. I just didn't know if I was going to collide into a skyscraper or if we were going to fall to our deaths. I didn't know how, but I knew I was going to die. But somehow at the last minute, our pilot was able to swoosh us up onto the top just in time to land our feet down on the helipad. And then we had landed.
Victor Bravo is down and clear, safe on the rooftop of the W Hotel.
I said, get me out of this. And I grabbed anything that looked like a knob on the door, yanked on it, and I hopped out.
With their feet firmly on solid ground, Diane reflects on their seemingly close call by punching him in the face.
I felt really bad for Kwame because this was all my fault. This was my surprise. I put him in this situation, and I just put his life in danger. So I was feeling really guilty. And Kwame, like, he was squatting down on his knees and clearly so upset that he couldn't even stand, so I felt even worse.
I pretended as though I was having medical issues of some sort.
I stand up to go, and he stayed down. And he had my hand, so I noticed that he wasn't coming. And as soon as I turned back to look at him, then I saw the ring.
Hi, you. Gotta go.
I was 100% surprised. I knew he would propose to me eventually, but not for a second did I think that it would be then.
She was definitely very emotional.
Truth is, I know you think we planned this. In reality, I planned it all for you.
And then he explained that while I had been thinking that this whole thing was my surprise, it was all him. He had orchestrated all of it. I just lost it.
Put this all together for you.
And he, concluded with just these beautiful words and asked me to marry him. And it was beautiful. It was perfect.
I had to point out that you have to say yes. The way this works is you gotta respond.
You gotta say yes.
So she yelled yes. I felt ecstatic because all of this, all of the planning, all of the time, it had finally come to an end and it worked out. So it was definitely a happy moment.
But Kwame had one final surprise up his sleeve. Leave it, mate.
Knowing that the kids were downstairs waiting for us, that final small surprise, was just a really good moment.
I could barely walk. I was so overjoyed. And I got all their hugs and flowers. I just could barely contain myself.
It's definitely quite pleasing that I was able to pull it all off without her knowing about it.
A typical proposal is the ring hidden in your dessert at a restaurant, right? But I would definitely say that this one was an outrageous proposal for sure. It was awesome.
A year later, the couple wed, and Kwame surprised Diane once again with a sunset helicopter ride. But thankfully, this time, there were no near-death antics. Otherwise, she would have killed him.
Our wedding, it turned out to be the best day in the whole world, even trumping the proposal. It was a wonderful, beautiful, perfect day.
As well as the ups in married life, there are inevitably the downs, because the path to true love very rarely runs smoothly. But there are some couples whose relationships have stood the test of time.
I've been married 60 years. I hope we last another 60.
And after decades of wedded bliss,
I still like to hold her and kiss her.
A big softie.
I never, ever go to bed at night without giving Colin a kiss.
Yep.
It's lovely.
they know all the secrets to a successful marriage.
Not sex, is it?
Meet Cindy and Steve from Ullenhall in the UK.
Cindy's a very bubbly person, and she got a great laugh. It comes out of nowhere. She's laughing at things I don't think you should laugh at. I mean, somebody rang her up one day and told her they'd been made redundant. That's what I mean.
What about Steve? What is it you love most about
Well, hang on,
Steve?
I need an hour to think about this.
To get one.
They met in 1965 when Cindy was 16 and Steve was 18.
I think I first realised he was the one for me, probably within weeks, maybe months of us starting to go out. Do you remember we had our record?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I can tell you what it was.
Go on then, tell me.
Dusty Springfield.
Yes. And we could kiss all the way through that without taking a breath.
Oh, yeah, that's true. We did that one night. We just did it. We just decided we were going to do that, yeah.
They dated for 2 years before they broached the subject of marriage.
I do remember being in a pub and Cindy wrote on a beer mat that she'd buy me, I don't know, it was a bottle or a crate of beer every day for the rest of our lives if I married her. It was something like that.
I think it was a month or something, wasn't it? But you went for it, didn't you?
I did, yeah, I did. You know, I thought that's too good to miss. Although I missed it. I
don't think I ever bought one, did I? Bribery and corruption gets you everywhere.
They saved for 2 years and married in 1969.
My father said that there was £100 and we could either have the £100 cash or we could have a proper wedding. And obviously we chose the proper wedding and we had 80 guests for £100.
Marvellous.
I don't think you could feed one person at a wedding reception now for £100.
Steve worked his way up the ranks at a machine tools factory in Birmingham, and it wasn't long before he was offered an overseas position.
In 1978, I was asked to go to Iran. You know, we could go as a family because the kids were 3 and 5.
We went round touring, which was very exciting, until word came through, wasn't it, that martial law had been declared. We'd watch the tanks going up and down, and we're bringing up a 3 and a 5-year-old in this, which is not good.
The family came home and settled back in the Midlands. And, like all marriages, they've had testing times, but the last year has been particularly tough.
So I was diagnosed with leukemia. Eventually, they found a German donor, 100% match, 18-year-old male. It couldn't be a better match in that respect.
Very lucky.
I managed to get out of hospital in about 4 weeks, which is sort of the minimum time.
You came home for my soup, didn't you, love?
Oh, yes.
My homemade soup. That was what kept him going.
Thankfully, Steve is on the road to recovery. And after 50 years together through sickness and in health, they know the secret to a successful marriage.
I think you need to have your own separate interests. Gives you something to talk about.
I've enjoyed modes of transport all my life, so I decided I'd like a Harley Davidson.
Makes a lot of noise.
Yeah, it's great. Love it.
And I spend a lot of time down at the Henley Ice Cream Parlour, which I've run for 20-odd years. It's a good one, this one is, cookies and cream. When we first got married, I don't think I thought beyond probably 5 years, never mind 50 years. As you've got to 30 years of marriage, well, you're just trundling along, and now we've made 50. That is a big milestone.
Next. One bride's big day comes out of the blue.
This is your wedding.
Right now?
She basically, has to make a decision right there. Is like, just jump on the ride or get off.
Meet Sean and Colleen from Ontario in Canada.
Colleen was a bartender in one of the clubs that I had owned, and I thought she was beautiful. She was fun.
He has his things that he does that are very sweet, but I would not categorize him as romantic.
Take their engagement, for instance, when Colleen had to take matters into her own hands.
She said, I really want you to be engaged with me. And she gave me her grandma's ring to put it on her finger.
I more or less told him to put it on my finger, which irritated me that I had to tell him that this was important.
So then I started to realize, oh man, that was like a proposal. There's no going back on that. And then kind of from that moment, I knew I had to make up for it, but I didn't know how at that time, but I was going to.
Sean decided that the perfect way to make up for the underwhelming proposal would be to secretly organise the whole wedding himself. Yeah, get to work, mate.
When you're trying to do something as crazy as a surprise wedding, you gotta have fun doing it. So we called it Operation White Cake.
Operation White Cake involved securing a venue, inviting all the guests, sorting the dress, finding someone to officiate, and most importantly, getting Colleen there without her twigging.
She thinks that she's picking up a cake at her friend's sister-in-law's place for the retirement party.
My friend Tiffany, she approached me on going to this retirement party. Her fiance at the time was away, so she asked if I would go with her. So it was not a big deal to say, yeah, sure, I'd love to. That'd be a lot of fun.
So, on the big day, while Colleen was getting her hair done for what she thought was a retirement party, Sean was at the venue getting everything in place.
I'm going through my list. Okay, put this here, put that there. Did we forget anything? The band was showing up. We had to get tents made. There was so much stuff happening that you almost forget the fact of what you're actually doing because you're just focused in the moment. The only thing that I was really afraid that it won't happen was that she wouldn't get there.
But Sean gets word that Colleen is on her way.
What? She's here? Oh, shit.
And then it's all systems go.
And when I see her pull into the driveway, that's when I was like, okay, it's happening.
So we get there and he's standing on a red carpet and in a suit. And my first thing was, oh my gosh, he's gonna propose. That's so sweet.
I love you so much. It's just me and her, and I was expressing how much I love her and how much I really wanted to make up for a terrible proposal. I wanted to do something really special for you.
It was very touching and very sweet. Like he teared up a little bit when he was saying it.
But the real proposal was just the start of the surprise.
And then he's like, today's your wedding day. You're getting married right now.
This is your wedding.
Right now?
You're getting married today.
And apparently when I'm really happy and excited, I swear like a trucker. Keep swearing.
You're getting married today.
Shut up.
She basically, has to make a decision right there. Is like, just jump on the ride or get off. And she jumped on and just rode with it. You have to say yes.
Yes, I'll marry you. Today. Right now. Oh my God.
Your sisters are gonna wait for you.
Okay. I think I took about 12 minutes to get ready. So I just threw my dress on, had a couple sips of wine, popped a hairdo and my little feathery thing, and like, let's do this, let's get to it.
I wanted her to have a moment, and we framed it out where there's a garage door that's opening. And this is gonna be the first time that she's gonna realize, oh my gosh, there's all these people here.
I had no idea who was there. I had no idea, what was gonna be on the other side of that garage door. It was really, really cool. He outdid himself, definitely.
It was a mammoth task to pull off, but was it all worth it?
If there's a guy out there and he's sitting down, he's like, hey, I think I'm gonna surprise the love of my life with a wedding, don't do it. It was a lot of work.
Weddings can often have some unwelcome surprises. In Ravensthorpe, Australia, this boogieing bridal party are bopping their way into the reception. One groomsman begins to attempt a unique version of the can-can. But he can't see the precariously placed cake behind him. Much to the amusement of the wedding guests. In Honduras, Central America, this couple have picked the perfect spot for their beachside ceremony. They exchange vows, and it's all going swimmingly until the guests end up swimming themselves. It's panic stations as they're plunged into the turquoise waters below. But luckily, no one was hurt. And the bride and groom managed to stay dry. How? In Texas, USA, this couple are being given the ultimate send-off after partying a little too hard at their reception.
Hold on to her. Hold on.
I'm holding on to her. It's not going anywhere.
It's safety first as Dave, the driver, buckles up his seatbelt, checks his rearview mirror, and awaits his cue.
Let go, Dave!
But Dave confuses his role as wedding driver with getaway driver. And concerned guests flock to check on the bride and groom, who were miraculously unharmed. See, it helps if you're drunk. The moral of the story, don't drink and Dave. That was really bad. And now, brace yourself.
The roller coaster went up to the top and they stopped us there.
For a white knuckle wedding.
And then they let us go.
Logan and John from Wollongong in Australia met online.
Saw this message from Logan just saying, wow.
That was all I said, wow.
And that definitely caught my attention. And just went back with the simple word g'day and started chatting from there.
A relationship flourished, but John soon realised he had stiff competition for Logan's affection. Really stiff?
My love of roller coasters would have started when my parents first took me to the theme park as a 5-year-old, and the thrill-seeking just began then.
I wouldn't describe him as an enthusiast, more as a fanatic.
When we travel, there'll be some sort of theme park or ride that is the main thing of the trip, but then we'd see everything, you know, all the natural wonders or whatever's around there as well.
After a year of adventures together, John proposed, and they started to think of thrilling ways to tie the knot.
We were literally joking around, and he goes, why don't we get married on Twisted Colossus? And I'm like, why don't we get married on Twisted Colossus?
Twisted Colossus at Six Flags was our favourite roller coaster in the park, and it was our first theme park experience together.
And he's like, well, send an email and find out. And I was like, oh, all right, let's find out.
To their surprise, the park agreed, so the boys headed to the States for their big day. But once they arrived, the reality of the situation started to kick in.
I was nervous, a little bit more than nerves in a normal wedding, I suppose, and the fact that we were going to get married on a roller coaster. After meeting our contacts at the theme park, we were put on the front of the roller coaster. Here we go. And then we rode up the lift hill. And we stopped at the top of the lift hill. All right, you go, We're very lucky that Ray, one of our friends in LA, is a minister, and he was able to perform the ceremony for us.
John, do you take Logan to be your husband?
He absolutely hates roller coasters, but he's like, I'll do that for you guys.
We might have to kiss again.
And then someone from the park came up and took some photos.
Wow.
When Ray announced us as husbands, that was a very happy time to actually be able to hear those words and to be able to then look at Logan and say he's my husband was fantastic.
Ceremony over, married life could begin. And like all marriages, they had to prepare for the ups and the downs.
The anticipation, I suppose, of the drop was probably amplified a little bit more because we were sitting there for so long.
You never get to hang at the top for, 20 minutes or half an hour, whatever we're up there. So for me, especially the guys that were with us, like our friends, I think they were pretty like, come on, can we do this? And then they let us go. I would say the best part of the ride is always the first drop and then 0G rolls.
Take you upside down. You get to go up the lift hill twice. I was happy. We were married and that we were starting our married life.
I never actually thought that what we thought about, which is really like a dream come true, would happen.
Fantastic to enjoy the rest of the roller coaster together. That was a fantastic day.